For Venice Indians, Josh Grant, John Massoni, and John, to cap off a great regular season, we host this team, and this is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, Coach and I talked a little bit about how the CIA, see, I made my first mistake, CAI. I knew I was going to do that. The CAI is coming in, and they're a very good football team, and it really is a great game leading into the playoffs, because you get a real chance to kind of tune yourself up properly to a high caliber football team. So, yeah, it's a big one. It's senior night. It always makes it a big night here at Venice High School. So, yeah, looking forward to a high level football game tonight.
So the Indians last week got their 5th win of the season, a 41-9 victory over the IMG Academy White varsity team. And you and Coach had a lot to say about the IMG varsity team on this past Tuesday's podcast.
Riverview obviously being a good test. You had mentioned it as well. Record didn't indicate what kind of a good team they were. You said they weren't finding ways to win, but I think that you can see where they're just a little bit. They're close. They are close.
Yeah, we get on Riverview a little bit.
Fun.
It's not for fun. I mean, it's for real. I mean, we don't like Riverview very much, and that's for real. And obviously, like we said in the coach's show, the next best thing from winning a state championship is beating Riverview.
Right.
And but at the same time, I don't have to like you to respect you, but
right.
I respect the job that they do over there. They coach those kids hard, and they're a good football team.
Yeah,
they're not a bad football team. And I kept telling everybody, like, they're not a bad football team. They're going to be big up. They're big up front.
Yeah.
They had I thought the quarterback did a great job. He ran the ball extremely hard.
He
ran the ball.
He did.
And their running back, I thought he was probably 220-pound running back.
They had probably I would say 6 or 7 Division I guys. I would think.
Yeah, big receiver.
The tight end was real good. He was a good athlete. They had the D tackle for Lele. His brother plays in the NFL for the Bengals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was his brother.
That was his brother. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So he was on there, but so you got guys that are going to play on Saturdays there. So it's not. You're not looking at and these kids.
They were a high school football, a good high school football team.
Right.
Not a bad high school, but a good high school football team. But that's a hard sell. I don't think our kids believe me.
So like Coach said, a good varsity football team, and it had to have been a hard sell. We'll talk about the stats in a couple of minutes, but it had to have been a hard sell coming off of playing the IMG national team and coming off of some of these bigger teams. Now to play this IMG team, you think IMG, these guys are the best of the best, and but the Indians in the fourth quarter, the second half, did exactly what they should do.
Yeah, Coach, I think he was trying to figure out a little bit of why the team has had some slow starts in the past few games, where it's like, hey, what's going to get you cranked up? Why are you coming out of that tunnel or through that flag?
Right. And we'll talk about that. We've got your clip.
So we talked about that a little bit. But the idea is that once you strap it up and you get up in front of that guy and he knocks you in the mouth, that's when you have to realize it. Now,
right.
Sometimes that's too late. But in this case, Indians were prepared properly. Coaching staff was ready to go, and they took it to the white team pretty much from the first couple, maybe first quarter on. They took it to him pretty well.
And then a 27-0 win in the second half. So overall solid effort as Brooks Bentley eclipsed the 1,000-yard passing mark for the season. 12 touchdowns and 1 pick. In that game, he was 14 of 22 for 212 and 2 scores. Alvin Johnson led the way. It goes Wilder Johnson, Wilder Johnson. Johnson led the way with 21 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown. Wilder, another 100-yard game, 22 carries for $113 and 3 scores. And now you're really seeing, as we've talked about it every week, you see just getting better and better in that running game.
The running game, looking at the beginning of the year, you weren't quite sure what you had with your passing game with a lot of graduating seniors, including the quarterback. And you thought, though, well, these two young guys are going to do something special. Even though they didn't play a ton last year, you knew they were talented. But now you're really seeing their potential. It's really just scratching the surface with these two, because they are going to be getting better and better every year, and they work well off each other. Their styles are a little different, but production-wise, they're just basically the same.
And Wilder in that game eclipsed the 500-yard rushing yard mark on the season and now has 7 touchdowns. And what I love to see now Keon Sears becoming a much bigger factor in the offense. As we talked about over the first couple of games, a lot of those receivers had tough getting that separation against those tougher defensive backs. And now you're seeing that struggle against those bigger guys. Now you're seeing it come to fruition as the season continues.
Right, and I think a little bit of that, too, is Brooks Bentley getting used to Keon as a receiver. A little smaller guy, very fast. getting the. I can go back to the Lakeland spring game where Keon was running some sort of very quick hitters, like little inside screen plays, whatever.
Right.
And you can see Brooks hesitate because, oh, guys, he going to get there? Where is he? And then also, boom, he popped into the pitcher. I think he's getting used to that. Some of those plays that Keon's has is where he kind of gets free downfield a little bit, and then he uses his speed to go the distance. So I think Brooks has got a little better with him, and of course, Keon has always had since he was a freshman on the freshman team, just great ball skills. Can catch at high point the ball. He can catch it outside of his normal radius where he catches it. So you can make plays. You can make a quarterback look good with some of the throws and some of the catches he makes. So I think Keon is a key all year, and especially moving forward to any of our success offensively.
And obviously the most important thing in any win is winning the second half. And these slow starts of the Indians, both offensive, defense, and you and Coach talked about it on Tuesday, these slow starts have got to change. Let's see that clip, Josh.
You know, we're starting terrible like we have been since really since we started the season. I mean, even you go back, I talked earlier about going back to another game, but you can go back to Miami Northwestern where
slow starts.
With two touchdowns called back in the first half, you know, which ended up being a huge difference in the game. And we fumbled twice on inside the 10 in the first half.
Right.
You know, so those 4 touchdowns, you know, so we got to fix it. We're going to fix it.
And it's not one person or one side of the ball.
No.
The defense has one. Then there could be, it's just as simple as you're second and 4, and then somebody jumps, and then you're second and 9, and it takes you out of your phase, and you had to change the play. So it's like that little bit of stuff that's kind of with maybe there's the momentum. You don't get that rock rolling uphill yet.
Yeah, I think I thought earlier in the season, I thought it had a lot to do with us being as young as we were. I mean, no seniors on the offensive line. No, only senior in the backfield was being Brooks.
And he was learning on the go too.
And everyone's everyone's a first-year starter besides Keon Sears, who didn't even play in the Miami Northwestern game. So there was not one starter on the field, to start the season off week 1. So, I think we've grown a lot, but we need to learn how to start the game. That's one thing we've focused on this week. We're focusing on the red zone offense and red zone defense. And it's not just the offense. The defense doesn't play very well either.
No, whoever's in the field first seems to get a slow start.
The defense comes out and lets them score, and then we start playing football.
Right.
And then it's almost like I would love to see the stat line of the points we've given up first quarter compared to the points we've given up second, third, and fourth quarter.
So let's take a look at the score breakdown by quarter, and you can see it on the screen. It's not as egregious, I think, as Coach thought it was. I talked to him earlier, and I showed him the stats, and that's pretty much what he said. But if you look at that second half, obviously the Indians are dominating that second half of each football game, and those slow starts have got to change.
Well, and I think part of it could be, some of these games you say, well, it's 31-34, but I think there's probably a game or two where we probably came out of the gate quicker than normal, but I can't remember how many there were. So you're averaging basically 4 points up on the fourth quarter every game. So he wants to get 21, 14. He wants to put the pressure on them. He doesn't want to be playing from behind. So I think that's probably much of his disappointment. You see the second quarter, a big pop, and then of course on the graphic there's a huge disparity in the fourth quarter, which
that's the one you want to win.
Right. If you're beating teams, a lot of times you don't get a lot of fourth quarter opportunities because you got running clock in high school. So when you see a lot of points in the fourth quarter, that's a good thing. But it's also a thing that makes you think, well, are we really beating people that bad, or are we just getting really cranked up by the fourth quarter? We said a couple times if there was a fifth quarter, we'd be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. and the one thing that coach and the coaching staff does is they make sure those guys are coached up, and when they're not coaching them up, they make it known that they have to get better as a coaching staff.
Well, it's always on the coaches. It's not, the players are going to do what they're coached to do. So I mean, I'm not sitting here saying it's on the players. I mean, it's on us. I mean, it's on us as coaches. We have to figure out why we start that way and fix it.
Right.
Is it we're getting too much deep into the playbook early on, or what are we doing? And I think the first play this past week, Alvin had about a 20-yard run.
Looked fantastic.
Yeah,
got
called
great
back,
play. Yeah.
Holding call right away. I think at Naples we started off with a penalty first play of the game.
Yeah.
And then, I want to say probably our best. Then we go down and score against Sarasota the first series. Or no?
Was it Riverview or was it Sarasota?
Maybe it was Riverview.
I think it was Riverview. We did come down to school right away.
Yeah, I think Riverview and Sarasota.
Yeah. And yeah, but you're right. And even like the one game when we played, when you had the long pass play as your first play called, and kind of got overthrown. It was it Elliott who threw the ball, or Keon, or somebody threw it to Elliott, or somebody was open.
St. Francis.
Yeah. And it was and
well, it's a touchdown, walk-in touchdown. Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, no, that's and that means so it's not everything you think it is. It's sort of it's a little.
Well, that would have been huge. You start off the game on national TV, first play of the game's an 80-yard touchdown.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So that we got to make plays.
And that's exactly what you want to hear: accountability from the top down.
Yeah, because the kids recognize it. They're saying, look, we'll get you right, you know, and we're going to do our things to make things better. So the kids they can't look around and say, well, coach doesn't do this. You know, they look at it and say, well, no, if they're doing it, I got to do it. And that's a lot to do with the culture that John's created, and all the coaches for that matter. That you have this idea that it's an all-in team mentality, and football only works that way, and only works successfully that way, I should say. But the culture is there. The kids know it. They know the coaches have bought in. They're working hard for them, and it's reciprocated when the kids perform in the field.
All right, so John, it's senior night. You mentioned it earlier. You're going to go host tonight's senior night festivities. It's always a treat. I like doing homecoming, and your job is
we switch
senior
back and
night.
forth on these things, but I do enjoy it, and it's kind of fun. I've got a little routine, so me and Mike Bartlett do our little thing here, so we'll enjoy it and hope everybody gets a good view of our senior class.
So purchase tonight's Boxcast broadcast. Go to VeniceIndianFootball.org. We're going to switch over to the Boxcast broadcast. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the rest of tonight's pregame show live from Powell Davis Stadium. It's the Clearwater Academy International Knights and your Venice Indians. Regular season finale. We'll be back on Boxcast in just a couple of minutes.